Hello there, my name is Ari the Coach and welcome back to my Premier League analysis. First episode Arsenal, now we're doing Aston Villa. This one I'm much more excited about as Aston Villa seem to be a really interesting prospect. This year, they were brilliant last year, got Champions League this year, they've kept quite a lot of their good players who they've sold, managed to replace and brought in some excellent depth. First game against West Ham, 2-1. You got sub-scoring, you've got a player they kept that they could have sold, scoring winner against the club he's supposed to go to. I think Unai Emery has done a great job, and we're going to talk about what I think about their additions, their strongest squad, their strengths and weaknesses, what I think the key positions will be for them this season, and lastly and most importantly, where I think they'll end up. So we'll just talk about what happened last year. Obviously, they came fourth, which is a brilliant result for Aston Villa. They were a brilliant team. Did the double over Aston Villa. Did the double over Arsenal. Sorry about that. They beat Man City as well. They were brilliant, home and away. Europa League, they were good. I think they lost to Olympiacos, if I'm correct. I mean, there's no shame in losing to the winners of the tournament now, is there? Even still, they were great throughout the tournament. You know, Unai Emery is probably focusing on the Premier League. You know, you can win Europa League or you can get a fourth. Which one was easier? Maybe Premier League. In Emery's head, that made more sense. And to prepare than the Champions League now, with a great squad, some proven players now, some players that have gone on from last season and been phenomenally well. Especially when we talk about players like Ollie Watkins, Leon Bailey, Ezri Konsa, players who were brilliant last season. Ian Matson, off of a Champions League final. Dortmund, a final that he very much contributed to with his performances. And yeah, I just think last season wasn't a fluke. They very much deserved it. A lot of teams slipped up and they took advantage of it. But this season, I think they're better than they ever were. And if they could possibly challenge for Europe again. I have put them in European places, just a bit of a spoiler. But I'll talk about that at the end. So, let's see what's next on the agenda. Notable additions. First notable addition in this squad, Mr. Nedeljkovic. Nedeljkovic. I don't know how you say that name. I'm hoping I say that right. 18 years old, back from loan, back from Red Star Belgrade. Hadn't seen him much. Did see him in the Champions League against Man City. Okay performance, I think. Obviously, Man City, tough team for any defender. You know, the Champions League, they really fight more than I think they fight for the Premier League. But that experience, home and away, against Man City, definitely will be valuable to him. In the first game when he came on for Matty Cash, I think he played really well. You know, he's very much someone I noticed when I was watching that game. Made some good passes. You know, didn't really make that many mistakes. Very tidy game. And then you realize 18 years old. And you're very much surprised. And think this kid could definitely go all the way. Especially considering Matty Cash is probably one of Aston Villa's weakest players in terms of his position. This 18-year-old can come in, you know, show up in training, keep consistent, keep doing the right thing, staying solid, he can definitely find himself starting for Aston Villa and getting lots of offers to the big clubs in England and in across Europe as well. European experience at that sort of age, might be playing in the Champions League again. You know, I don't think he plays any positions, but if he does, that's another big thing. I think that's great for him, and I'm really interested to see how he gets on this season. Second, and honestly the player I'm most excited to talk about, Ian Maatsen. For those who don't know, Dortmund is one of my teams. I've supported them for a couple of years, and this man has been phenomenal for them. You know, when he first came in, fun fact for you, I noticed he was going to be good. In his first games, there was an assist where he's standing like here, and he had the ball, and he just fired it straight into this area, right? And it was so flat that it looked like he's just hit it with no spin, and he just hit it like an arrow. I think the defense were quite high up. They're trying to push Dortmund quite high up, so there's a lot of space into that area. But the quality of the pass from this area, they hit it so straight, it looked like it had no curve on it at all. Just hit like an arrow directly above the defense, directly into the area. And I was like, that sort of technique, to hit that from that sort of area, when you're pressing really high, that you need to hit that pass cleanly. Because if you miss, no one's going to get on it, right? The wingers are high up, there's already a striker making that running behind across the high press. And he was brilliant, and I was right on that. He was one of Dortmund's best players in the Bundesliga, mainly in the Champions League. I think his performance actually got better. His game against Atletico, I think, was a brilliant. You know, the goal they scored, dribbling, you know, attacking, he was brilliant. You could definitely see him doing that at Aston Villa as well. One thing I will talk about is the fact that I think John McGinn is the perfect partner for him, as is Yuri Tielemans. This whole left-hand side is probably going to be more dangerous than the right-hand side for Aston Villa this season. You know, with the way that these two work, they all seem to cater to each other. One's weakness is the other's strength. I'll talk about that later, but yeah, Ian Maatsen definitely looks to be a very good purchase for Aston Villa, and could definitely be the difference maker in the big games, especially in Europe, with the quality he has. Definitely look towards this man to do what he did for Dortmund. For Aston Villa, next player, I believe, Mr. 19. Barcelona scouted Jadon Philogene. Many of them might know for his amazing goal worthy of Ballon d'Or, the Rabona, from outside the area here at the crossbar. Obviously, Aston Villa, I do believe they owned him before, and they might have sold him to Hull, and he was brilliant. And obviously, that goal sort of gave a lot of people a look as to, you know, players who can do that and have the confidence to do that and pull it off. Knowing they have a lot more tricks in the bag. Aston Villa, obviously, they're a good club, like to develop young talent. Took the big route in bringing them back. First game, he looked good. I think he got an assist, if I'm not wrong, for Juan Duran. Yeah, I think he will be a very exciting player, very energetic player. Maybe a Streets won't forget. That might be quite a rogue shout, but he's shown he's got the skills. He's shown he can pull them off in the Championship, where you can get kicked to bits and no one really cares because of the Championship. To pull off a Rabona at that level and chip the keeper, don't care if there's inflection, that sort of skill. If you can do that on the Premier League's level, you will be wanted. I know the Barcelona thing was a joke, but if he does those sort of things for Aston Villa, it definitely won't be by the end of the season. So yeah, Mr. Jaden Philogene, another big player. Next one, I do believe Mr. Ross Barkley. I might be wrong on this. I do think he is number 6. What a season this man had last season with Luton. Arguably one of the best players, one of the best midfielders last season. He definitely earned his way back into conversation for a top club, Aston Villa being that club. I don't think he'll play that many big games, obviously, against Onana and Tielemans, probably fighting with Tielemans for that position. Tielemans is a wonderfully talented player. Anyone who's seen him at any level, really. Leicester, Belgium, even back in the day, Anderlecht, beautiful passes over ball. Can hit the ball from like 40 yards straight into the corners. That's going to be a hard thing to fight, but I do think in the big games he will be massive, and he'll be even more valuable in the small games. One thing I'm going to talk about is I think Aston Villa are going to have to focus on the small games. I think the way they're set up is made to take on the big games. We saw how well they played against Arsenal, Man City. I don't remember the game against Liverpool, but I think they played really well. I think they got a draw 2-2, not losing against Liverpool. Good. They drew against Liverpool, beat Arsenal home and away, beat Man City. These were 3 teams fighting for the title. Villa beat all of them, or didn't lose more than once against any of them. Picked up at least a point for every single team. Also picked up 6. It's the small games for Aston Villa, I think, that are going to be massive. I think against teams that, will just hoof it long, just look to use pace, look to use strength. Ross Barkley will be key in those games when, let's say, a Tielemans won't get the ball that much or might not have the strength or the aggression. Ross Barkley can add that. And I think he will prove himself to be a massive player in those games. And if that is why Villa bought him, I think that's an amazing purchase. If he performs like we've seen him last season, that could actually be one of the bargains of the season. The talent's there. He's been there from since day one. We saw at Luton, he can play now. Deep lying playmaker. He can do that against some of the best teams in England. Doesn't seem to struggle. At Villa, more over the board. If he can do that again, we can only wait and see. Last one, I don't think I have him in here. Let me just check quickly, but it's Samuel Illing Jr. I don't think he's here. Let's just do this for a second. Sorry, my cast. Let's just change it here. Samuel Illing Jr. I'll be honest, I haven't really watched him that much this season. Or last season at all. I'm not gonna lie, I've never heard of the guy. Did some research on him, and you can see why Villa would want him. Played in England, went to Juventus, had some good games, came over here in the trade offer for Douglas Luiz, but I definitely think he's being understated. He played to 24 games for Juventus. One place Juventus don't struggle is the wings. Federico Chiesa plays on the left, I do believe. So does Illing Jr. To play 24 games on the left wing. He also just played wing back, so he might play wing back, I'm not sure. I didn't watch many Juventus games. 24 games for such an established team, a team that needs to get back, that has shown that they need to get back to the heights that they are, to put the faith in a 20-year-old Englishman from Chelsea. He definitely has the faith of the old lady in him. And whether he does that again for the Villains, I'm not sure. But I think he'll be an exciting player. One big thing you can't understate is the pressure. That's one thing I think players, fans, coaches all forget, is a player can be great, but if they can't handle pressure, then in the big moments when you need them, they're not going to be there. I think Samuel Elling Jr. is 20, but playing for Chelsea, the Chelsea Academy is brutal. You know, they only have some of the best players. You're not going to be there if you're not a top player. You know, playing with the likes of Mason Mounts. I don't think Declan Rice played for Chelsea. Might have. But, look at the youth players they had out of there. Slanky. But there's loads and loads. You can go look up Chelsea youth team. They could probably make a Premier League winning team of all the youth players today. Elling Jr. is one of them. Went to Juventus. Seems to have done well. Playing for Juventus is not an easy thing at all. An adaptation of them is not as good as it used to be. Haven't won a title in who knows how long. But playing for them during this time, the fans, I don't think will take anything other than giving your all. Juventus expect trophies, they expect dominance. You don't play 24 games as a 20-year-old Englishman if you don't show that. If you play 4 games and he didn't show as good enough, he'd been cut. Simple as. Juventus have money, they could buy talent. It's not like they can't. The fact that they're willing to give him that many games, I think he only got 3 goals and 2 assists, 45 goal contributions. They obviously played it for another reason. 5 goals isn't bad for a 20-year-old for Juventus. I mean, Dusan Vlahovic gets all the goals. Chiesa gets the goals. Maybe he's just a facilitator. But facilitator players for Chelsea and Juventus, that's one that can handle pressure. I'll be interested to see what he does this season. I think he'll be a good purchase for them. But we'll have to wait and see. But that's my last big expectation for this season. My last player to watch is going to be Samuel Elling Jr. Alright, what is next on the list? Let's just have a look here. The departures. So, for those who don't know, they have added in quite a few players. The big 2 losses this season are Moussa Diaby to Saudi for I think 50-60 million, and Douglas Luiz for I think 30 million for Enzo Barachea and Samuel Elling Jr. Obviously, massive losses. Both players massive for Aston Villa. Douglas Luiz mainly, very much trusted captain. Has been brilliant for them. For the past 2 seasons, his defensive stats have been phenomenal. Staggering forward, starting goals to his record. Deserved a move to a top club. So, whilst Aston Villa might hurt, I think they're prepared for this. Moussa Diaby, I think, was more of a shock, but I think we all knew that he was going to go for the money. Well, I'll be honest with you, but when that sort of money comes in, 60 million for Moussa Diaby, great player, but you know he didn't play as much on the bench by the form of Leon Bailey. Can't blame him for wanting to go somewhere else where he gets more game time, gets paid more, and is just seen as a more of a key player to have in the team. I don't think Aston Villa will miss these two this much, so I think they're fine. Me personally. Now, strongest squad. This squad right here is what I think Aston Villa should go with. Obviously, I can tell what the main issues would be, or the main complaints would be. An 18-year-old starting at right back who's never started for Aston Villa in the Premier League. Absolutely not. John McGinn at left wing. Absolutely not. Ian Matson 2 attacking at left back maybe. I could see those, but I think. But first off, let me just speak about the right back. Obviously, my Cash will start a lot of games, but this kid, I don't know. I just think he has the potential to be better than Cash, and from the first game, didn't seem to be that worried. Against West Ham, I think it's against Somerville. For those who don't know, Constantino Somerville, Championship Player of the Year. Brilliant for Leeds, can humiliate a defender 1v1, can go left, can go right, both forward, great crosser, dribbler, shooter. I think if he'd gotten exposed, it would have been my Cash all day. I didn't see that. I might see 5 minutes. I might look back on this, look at the video, and just see Somerville absolutely tearing apart and be humiliated. But even if that is the case, I think Nedeljkovic, however you pronounce his name, at 18 years old, and we certainly has faith in him. My Cash hasn't been the most consistent right back. You know, he's offered him in times. Collins has replaced him. You know, when a centre back goes to right back and takes the right back out, that is an issue. Now with the right back back from loan, if Cash doesn't perform one, you could definitely see let's go Ned. You could definitely see Ned being a main starter. Ian Matson at left back, I think this is just. I actually don't have an argument for this. I just think this is perfect. I think Luca Digne hasn't lived up to his early years at Aston Villa. I think he was a brilliant player. Right now, I just don't think he's at that level anymore for Aston Villa. Ian Matson, you know, he's shown the level he can play at. He's only 22, under Emery, playing week in, week out. That same sort of level of football. And only do good things for him. So I just think within the next couple of weeks, Matson will be first choice left back. That won't change unless of injuries or squad rotation. He will be starting. So that's not an issue. And McGinn left wing. He plays there for Aston Villa previously. I understand if you might have an issue with this. Like, you got Bailey, Rodgers and McGinn. You can obviously see where the weak point is. But John McGinn's been one of Aston Villa's most crucial players over the years. He's performed wherever. Championship is brilliant. Premier League, he's brilliant. In Europe, fantastic. I really don't think John McGinn will be ousted at left wing again. Injuries or rotation might change that, but I don't think that's an issue. My key areas for success. I'm going to be straight out of here. This area of the pitch, the left hand side, will be either absolute terror for teams or absolute heaven, depending on the performances. If I talk about Maatsen, we've already seen the performances. McGinn, we already know about that. Yo Tielemans, obviously last season, don't think he played as much as he might have liked to. But this season, with Douglas Luiz out, Andre Onana taking the position, him finding himself in midfield with McGinn and Maatsen, I think he'll have a great season again. I think at Leicester we saw the beginnings of what can be a world-class midfielder. At Aston Villa, yeah. I've been spending so long trying to think what to say. I can't say much about this guy. But I think performances will just show everybody. Back in the day, he was a prospect. Young was seen to be one of the best young players in the world this season. I think he'll show that. But in terms of how Aston Villa play, Maatsen, Tielemans and McGinn, like I mentioned previously, I think they'll cater to each other's strengths and weaknesses. Maatsen's strength up here. Alright. So Maatsen's strength, he likes to be up here, creating play, getting into the area, using his dribbling, getting in the middle. John McGinn can easily fill out that position. Tielemans also can sort of drop in. John McGinn's strength, getting into these sort of areas here, creating. Maatsen can take up the area. I think Tielemans' strength, dropping into space, looking for the pass again. Maatsen getting into these sort of areas, find that pass there. And again, weaknesses, I think, talk about Maatsen. Defensively, obviously, isn't the strongest, but John McGinn, he must do it all. He can definitely help out there. Can help out Maatsen. You can easily see that sort of happening. If, let's say, they face Liverpool, we have Trent, Szoboszlai and Salah potentially down this left right hand side. You'd ever see McGinn dropping in, sort of playing like wing back almost, helping out. I think McGinn's is pace, and Maatsen again, like that run just causes so many issues for teams. Tielemans again, I think, his physicality. John McGinn again, very tough player, very strong, brilliant balance. I think it's underrated, the level of his balance. I think you could put a Adama Traore on him, literally drag him from side to side. I don't think John McGinn loses the ball. Brilliant balance, brilliant strength, and he could definitely play this role. We might even see Tielemans out here sometimes, just whipping crosses into the back post for Leon Bailey or Watkins or even Rodgers, or maybe even opening it up, creating the overlap for Maatsen. I think these guys will be a force to be reckoned with for Aston Villa. Next role, I think for success, again, already mentioned, right back. I'm not talking about Nedeljkovic, particularly could be Mike Cash, but right back has been a position Aston Villa have been looking to solve for a while. Obviously last year, Ezra Konsa was brilliant at right back, but you can tell this year they want Ezra Konsa at centre back. I think he's much better at centre back than he is a right back. Those performances last season showed he could definitely play a right back. I can do so consistently if that needs to be done. My Cash, obviously, after last season, he knows he he has to play better, because now you've got an 18-year-old who is looking to make his way into this team and to stay there. Unai Emery wants to win. If my cash isn't to giving anything like he was last season, where he was, not the worst attacking or defensively, this kid comes in, performs well. I don't see my cash coming back into the squad. It's going to be a key area for Aston Villa, especially with the attacking side. Dinny or Matson, we know what they're going to do. Go forward. So the right back defensively is going to be key. Also an attack with Leon Bailey. Gonna need to make that run. I think that's what Unai Emery wants. Get into that box, make good deliveries into the box. I just think, like last season, this is going to be a big area for Aston Villa. And if they can find a player worth his weight at this position, they'll be golden. Next, the one I think everyone's been talking about pre-season, and after the first game, Cam and Mr. Morgan Rogers. What player! Just an absolutely amazing player. Fantastic dribbling, can carry the ball for such a long time. Unlucky not to score. Because West Ham, after that lovely move where he just went through the West Ham defence, just cut them apart like butter, and just hit it at Areola. Again in that game, he was just carrying the ball time and time again. Should have got a goal. I don't think that's a worry. He looks to be in the right mindset and the right form to be getting 10 plus goals this season. I don't think that's too much for him. We know the service is there for Aston Villa. Ollie Watkins himself, great creator. You can definitely see them being a good partnership up top. And I just think Morgan Rogers last season, I think like Tielemans, he was getting started. This season, he's definitely going to prove that he's ready to be a key player for Aston Villa. Lastly, the biggest shock of this, one of the best strikers in Europe last year, Ollie Watkins. We can't expect him to do what he did last season. That's just not going to happen. Goals and assists, top 3 I think, for both. He was just on fire. He was brilliant against Arsenal. At the Emirates, I think he was clinical. When he got his chance, he used his body, got behind, finished. In games where it's tense, you get that one chance, the best strikers to put it away. He put it away. I definitely think he'll be up there for goals and assists this season as well. But I think this season, it's just going to be about helping the team score goals. Like I said, I think this team is the best it's been since Emery joined. The talent in the depth, the talent on the pitch, talent in the youth ranks. They look to be building an amazing project. This season could definitely be a massive step towards it. They could maybe even solidify themselves as a constant team in European places, fighting for top 4, joining the likes of your Newcastles, your Uniteds, your Chelseas, your Tottenhams, always looking to be involved in Europe, always being one of the big teams. I think Ollie Watkins, obviously, main number 9, gets involved in all the play, very capable. But this season, I think if he can do what he did last season, but maybe create more. It could be his best season to date. Alright, now comes the time we've all been waiting for. My prediction. I did say I think they could definitely look to be getting near up. That's where I put them. But where exactly? Now, before anybody may want to hate on me for saying this, I think fifth is would be a remarkable achievement for Aston Villa. Fourth, everything went right for Aston Villa. I truly think fourth was the best it could have got. You know, when you think the top three, but all in the title race for the majority of the season. The fact that Aston Villa were the best team not involved in title race, that's a massive thing for them. Now they've got Champions League, the new format, more games. Don't know the groups yet, but might get some tough games. As you know, they also got FA Cup, Carew Cup. Obviously, the big increase in depth would definitely be a massive up in those games. But we can't expect him to get fourth again. That's just not going to happen. I actually have him in fifth, but sixth, I think, also is very much on the cards. I think the big thing for them this season is going to be small games. Like I said before with Ross Barkley, they need players in those games. I think Aston Villa will handle the big games perfectly well. Unai Emery is a coach who knows how to win big games. Always has done ever since he joined Sevilla. You know, won so many trophies, made that club the best Europa League club ever. Like, if Sevilla in the Europa League, game over, you're not touching it. You could be Real Madrid. If Real Madrid faced Sevilla in the Europa League, I think Sevilla win that game under Unai Emery. He was brilliant. Ever since then, he knows how to take out big teams. So last season, we're going to see it this season. There's nothing else to say about that, but the small games are going to be what makes or breaks Aston Villa season. If they can't pick up the points, sixth is where I think they're going to come. I think they will drop a lot of points if they can't manage a way to pick up those big points that every club drops. Villa can't afford to. Not the Champions League, because games they would have won last season are going to start becoming draws, becoming losses. You know, key players not as good. You know, certain moves, certain passing plays getting worked out, certain tactics getting read and countered. Teams know how to play against Aston Villa now. Small teams, again, with how high Aston Villa played, they can look to expose that back line. They know how if they teams, let's say Brentford, can score, it's going to be a really hard game for Aston Villa. Those games are going to be much more important. So if they can manage to pick out those games and manage to work their way through picking up, you know, a point here and there, fifth is very much on the cards. I think fourth is just there. I think if they get eliminated out of the Champions League early, fourth is definitely on the cards. Like last season, I think the main thing for Emery is just to get Villa into Europe. Well, I think he knows Premier League is easier than winning a European competition. But the small games can be a killer. but it can also be the stepping stool for Villa this season. That's all I've got to say about Aston Villa. Join me for the next video where we were talking about AFC Bournemouth and what they will do without Dominic Solanke and what they can look to do this season. Join me for then. Till then, I've been RA the coach. See you on the flip side.